Hey guys, happy Veterans Day to you. Just going to try to make this as quick as possible today as we look at the matchups for Week 10. And I've already done a couple of game previews, so we'll stick to the ones that I haven't done yet. Start off with Penn State, Ohio State. As you can see here, Penn State got less than a point from somebody in their game. Let's have a look here. Yeah, they got small games from a linebacker and a defensive back, so nothing big going on there. Of course, Ohio State got nothing in their game. But just taking a look at this one, this is a big one for Ohio State, of course, because it's their last chance to make the championship bracket. They have to win every game from here on out. So, pretty big game for them. They need to win if they're going to stay alive. Otherwise, it's packet it in until next year. Of course, Penn State is in the running right now. Look at the rosters for the bye. Shows that Jalen Hurts is out with a bye. That really hurts, and no pun intended. But Ohio State really could use him in this game. Now, of course, Penn State should have a bye as well at quarterback, and they do. Tua Tagovailoa will miss the game as well. So it will be one of those games. I always try to make the matchups to where the quarterbacks are on a bye at the same time. And that worked out good in this one. So these two teams are going to have to fall back on the rest of their squads to win. And it looks like Penn State's going to be without some serious talent at running back as well, though. Devon Achane, I think it is out. Darrell Henderson out. Chris Brooks. You got a lot of buys here. Not looking good for Penn State in this one. And, of course, we talked about Penn State being very close to clinching a championship berth, or at least the championship round berth. They have 5 wins so far. They need a couple more minimum to at least get to the tiebreaker stage if we, in fact, do need tiebreakers. And they've got some tough ones coming up, Georgia, Cal, and Alabama. So this one, an important one for this team, the Penn State Nittany Lions. And like I said, they are missing a lot of linebackers. It's going to make it tough. They are pretty healthy here, it looks like, or at least they have no buys at wide receiver. I'm not seeing any red flags. That's all good. And at least they've got that going for them. Let's go back over and look at Ohio State. And Ohio State, as we talked about, has Jalen Hurts missing due to the bye this week. They also have, Jordan Fuller, defensive back. He was averaging 3 points a game. That's a pretty big loss. Also, Javon Holland, and their secondary is going to be out. But in general, they have a pretty deep secondary, so I think Ohio State's not doing too bad in that respect. As far as injuries are concerned, Ohio State will be dealing with something with Cody Barton, one of their best linebackers. He is on the injured reserve list, so he will be out for this game. That's a pretty serious loss. They fall back on guys like E.J. Speed, Joe Tavon, and that's not going to get it done. Tryon, that is, Joe Tryon. A lot of red flags here at the wide receiver position, but at the lower ranks, T. Higgins, of course, I think he's going to miss the game this week, and he is out for Week 10 with a hamstring issue, so that doesn't bode well for them. But all in all, I think Ohio State has a good shot at this game based on the buys and the injuries. New Mexico and California. New Mexico has already put some points on the board in this one. As you can see, Bryce Young has scored 3 points on Thursday Night Football. Rashawn Johnson, not a very impressive game. Just 5 carries for 18 yards, 4 catches, 14 yards, 1.5 fantasy points. Jaquan Brisker, their safety, had 5 tackles and 4 assists. He scored 3.5 fantasy points. Solid performance by him. On the other side, not a lot to talk about from Cal. As you can see, California will be without their best linebacker, Christian Roseboom, as the Rams have a bye. A look at the red flag shows that Justin Jefferson, of course, is out for this one. And that one hurts indeed for the Golden Bears, as they have a tall order this week taking on the New Mexico Lobos. As for the Lobos, of course, they're going to be without Puka Nakua. That's a big loss. The Rams on the bye. Also, their best linebacker, Ernest Jones, will miss the game with a bye. Linebacker Nick Bolton averaging 2.9 points. He's out for this one with a bye. So missing Michael Keaton, running back from the Baltimore Ravens. Actually, not missing him. He's got just a hamstring issue. So Michael Keaton will play in this one. Of course, he had that huge game last week. Michael Keaton did. 10.46 points. I believe that was last week's score. Yeah, he scored 10 points. Wow. How did that happen? Jamar Chase, we talked about this in previous videos. He got a hard hit in his last game. He was hit and has a back issue. So not sure how that's going to affect his game, but that would be a big loss by the Lobos. Pat Fryermuth looks like he will miss this game as well. He's got a hamstring. Fresno State also has their back against the wall. They have to win every game from here on out. Of course, they should be able to beat Oregon. We don't have to go too much into this game, but Jack Sanborn has scored about 3 points at linebacker for the Bulldogs so far. He had 3 tackles for assist on Thursday Night Football. We also have Texas beating Georgia right now. And this is a big game for Texas. Of course, they need to win pretty much the rest of their games. They could get away with winning 3 and get into the championship round. So they could lose one more game, but they really would like to win them all. And then they would really stand a good chance of making the championship bracket. But they do have a tough game here with Georgia this week. And looking at Georgia, their quarterback, Tyson Bagent, didn't perform too well. 20 of 33 for just 162 yards and 2.5 fantasy points. That's not going to get it done. Linebacker TJ Edwards for Georgia had 5 tackles, 7 assists, almost 4 fantasy points. That's a solid performance. On the other side of the field, you got Derek Brown, defensive lineman for the Texas Longhorns. Big game by Brown. 9 tackles on the defensive line, 1 assist, no sacks, and still 6 points for him. Also, Tyreek Stevenson checking into the box score with just 1 tackle, 2 assists, and 1.38 points. He probably won't figure into the final box score. A look at Texas shows us that they have Isaiah Pacheco out with a bye. Among others, I'm not seeing any other buys that have consequence so far. Not really. Miles Bryant has been able to practice this week. He is their best defensive back, so it doesn't look like he's necessarily out. They are missing linebacker Tutu Henry, potentially. Indeed, he will miss the game with a concussion. And there are other injuries of note here for Texas. We have Brandon Johnson, who was their second best wideout. This is a team that doesn't really have a lot of talent at the wide receiver position. So Texas here has a pretty tough game ahead of them, playing Georgia this week. And with Sam Howell being redshirted, they're going to be depending much on Brock Purdy, who is back this week. And the 49ers have been struggling, so who knows what's going to happen in that one. Perhaps Purdy is not the guy he was in the past, and this team might struggle as a result. But, not a lot of big names here. It looks like Texas is pretty much full strength. But Georgia, on the other hand, comes in pretty healthy and bye free, it looks like. So this is going to be a tough game for Texas to win. As you can see here, Georgia is already out in front. And when you look at the standings in this game, Texas coming in at 4-5, they can ill afford a loss. And for Georgia, of course, they just would love to get this win and keep working towards that championship bracket. Moving right along here, we've got Michigan, Maryland. I believe I have already previewed that game. Colorado, Alabama. I think I looked earlier at the Penn State-Ohio State game. That's a big one right there, especially for Penn State. And I think that's one of the games of the week as these teams are battling without their quarterbacks. Yep, I think Colorado, Alabama might be the last one to look at here. Good solid matchup between two teams that have championship aspirations. Colorado coming in at 5-4, Alabama at 6-3. And let's have a look here and see if there's any buys for Alabama. I am showing that there is at least an injury possibly to Justin Fields. Again, he is inactive this week, so he will miss the game. That hurts. They don't have another quarterback. So Alabama's in a little bit of trouble here as they come in with 6 wins, and they still might struggle to make the championship bracket. And that's rough after the great start they got out to. I'm not seeing a lot of big buys other than maybe L'Jarius Sneed, their secondary guy, who averages 2.5 points a game. Other than that, not really seeing a lot of buys here for Alabama. As far as injuries, of course, the Justin Fields injury is big. And we've got Treylon Burks possibly with an issue here. He's got a concussion, and he is going to be out. He wasn't really playing that great in the first place. Yetur Gross-Matos has a hamstring issue. He's out for week 12. That doesn't help. Here, their best linebacker, Terrell Bernard, is dealing with a concussion, but he has been able to practice, and so I would imagine he might play this week. And that seems to do it for Alabama's buys and injuries. Looking at Colorado here really quickly. Colorado coming in with the 5th best record. And Colorado, of course, has a 5-4 record coming in. They really need the victory. And I'm looking at them for the buys right now, and I'm not seeing anything so far. Yeah, Colorado looks pretty buy-free here as far as the injuries are concerned. Also, not seeing a lot of red flags other than Andrew Ogletree, who is their best tight end, but at 1.2 points a game, they'll hardly miss him. But they might take a 0 at the tight end position this week, it looks like. And then Andre Sisco, pretty strong safety there, averaging 3 points a game. He's got some sort of a red flag injury issue, hamstring, but he has been able to practice, so he very well could play in this weekend's game. And that's going to pretty much be a wrap for this show today. And for the rest of the weekend, I'll be back with the scoreboard show probably on Monday or Tuesday night. Just talking over implications of this weekend's games. But again, not a lot of action going on Thursday. Georgia and Texas, probably the biggest scores of that game. And as you can see here, Penn State versus Ohio State, a big game as Ohio State is facing elimination. Should be an interesting weekend. A lot more to talk about, I'm sure, on the scoreboard show come Monday. And I'll definitely probably be doing it that day, during Monday Night Football perhaps. But other than that, good luck in your games and enjoy the rest of your weekend, guys. We'll talk to you later.